p.m. on September 9th, 2023.
No. August.
August 9th, 2023. This hearing is being held as required by the provisions of Chapter 131, Section 40 of the General Laws of the Commonwealth, an act relative to the protection of the wetlands as most recently amended. Notice of the time and place of this hearing was published in the Fairhaven Neighborhood News on August 3rd, 2023. It was also posted in the town's clerk's office. Persons wishing to be heard will be called in the following order. Commission members present with us tonight: James Souza, Heidi Pelletier, Everett Filler, Ryan Rezendes, Christian D'Souza, Doug Thomas. All right. First order of business, minutes for approval. Present at that meeting, I think, was myself, Heidi, and Everett, from May 10th, 2023. Did you guys get a look at it? Yeah. All right.
Motion to accept as submitted.
I'll second.
All right, there's a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
That's unanimous. All right. Meeting mail, Pat's not here. New business, MS4 update. Kevin McHugh, Conoco Engineers and Scientists. Kevin,
Hey.
how you doing?
Hey, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
So, for intros, I know you said it, but I'm Kevin McHugh with Conoco. I was asked just recently by Pat Hannon to give just a brief overview of the work we've been doing to help the town with its compliance with the MS4 permit program, which is part of the EPA Clean Water Act. So I'm sure that you're all familiar with it, so I won't go into too much detail, but just for background, people who aren't aware of it, the MS4 program is essentially the permit for the town's storm drain system. The first phase of that, or the first version of this permit, actually came out in 2003. It was a 5-year permit, but EPA continued it a number of years, so it actually went on until 2016 when it was the second version of the permit was issued, and that became effective in 2017. So as part of that permit program, the majority of cities and towns in Massachusetts and across the country, because again, this is a federal program, they're required to do a number of things related to the storm drain system, just to ensure stormwater quality and to protect surface waters throughout the country, really. But the permit itself is built around 6 minimum control measures that all communities have to follow. Those are public education, public participation, illicit discharge detection elimination, management of construction site runoff, management of post-construction site runoff, and then good housekeeping in municipal operations. So again, the permit is focused on stormwater quality in the storm drain system. And as I mentioned, there's a number of components that fall under each of those 6 categories that need to be done. And so fairly recently we were brought back on board by Pat Hannon, by the town, to help with the town's compliance with this permit. And we went through the town's current compliance status, and in doing that, now we're trying to address things just to make sure, again, that the town is either in compliance or is on the road to getting in compliance with all of the requirements of the permit. So just recently, we've been, about a month and a half ago or so, we got back under contract with the town to help out. And some of the things we're focusing on right now in the short term, one of the main things is the public education and outreach component. Unfortunately, the town's a little bit lacking in that component of the program, of the permit. And so we've been pulling together some public education information that you'll start to see rolling out in the next week or so. We actually have drafts of those pulled together now that we're going through with Mr. Hannon, just to make sure that they hit on the topics that are required and the town wants to get out there. But once you start rolling those out, you'll start to see handouts and just informational packets that we'll have been put in different public offices, DPW, in libraries, in the town hall, places like that, just so the community can take copies of them and just become informed on some of the important components of stormwater. We're also looking to have those posted on the social media accounts that the town might have, on the town's website. I believe the town has a Facebook page, and anything else, any place else where we can get those things posted just so people can see them, and just help with education and make people aware of things that they should be doing or they shouldn't be doing to improve and protect stormwater quality. One of the other big components and important items that I know the commission is aware of, and that we've been helping the town with a little bit over the past year or a little bit more is stormwater bylaw and regulations. So I know there's a version of the stormwater bylaw that, my understanding is potentially going to be a warrant article. Not sure where that stands,
Yes.
but hopefully that can move forward. I think that's an important thing to get taken care of. I know the town's been, trying to get something done for a while now, but it would be really important to get the bylaw updated and then the associated regulations take into effect, basically. So that would really help a lot too with the compliance. And then there's a slew of other things that we're working on also. I won't bore you with all the details, but we'll start to be rolling those out soon too. A number of reports, operation and maintenance plans that are needed for different operations throughout the town, and then implementation of those. So we're working on all of those too. And over the next couple of weeks and couple of months, we'll start rolling those things out. I'm sure we'll have more up-to-date meetings like this that we can present to the commission so you can see where things stand. We're working closely with Mr. Hannon on making sure that the town again is in compliance or on the road to compliance with all the requirements. So that's basically it. It was just, I think we want to do this just as an introduction, let you know kind of where we're starting, and then we'll start providing more details as we move forward. I don't know if you have any questions or.
No, okay, we're good. I appreciate it.
I appreciate it.
That, the bylaw is gonna be a warrant item, I think, for the November
Okay.
town meeting, yeah.
Yeah, that'll be really important. And one of the things, just to let you know, is the last permit year, the most recent permit year we just went through, which was actually year 5 of this current permit term, that ended June 30th. So we're in actually year 6 now of this permit term. So annual reports for this past year are due in September 30th. So we'll be hoping the town to pull that annual report together, and that gets uploaded to EPA and DEP on September 30th. So anything that we're going to be reporting on that September 30th report will be for the year prior and ending in June 30th. So everything we're working on now wouldn't show until next year's annual report. But obviously, it's important to keep going through these things for compliance. Because again, there is just so many items that need to be taken care of. But the town I know is committed, and we're working closely with Mr. Hannon to make sure that everything moves forward. I know the town is not committed to make sure that everything is up to date, and you're eventually going to be fully in compliance.
Exactly. Thank you very much, Kevin.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Have a good
Thank you.
evening.
All right. Next on the agenda, this is a new public hearing due to the invalidation of the past public hearings due to the loss of quorum of voting members. It's notice of intent from Sincarfa Park Drive LLC, Lambert Street, map 17, lot 13, file number SC0010582. A notice of intent was filed by Sincarfa Park Drive LLC for property located at Lambert Street, map 17, lot 13. The applicant proposes development of an access road with proposed wetland impact and associated replication to access Park Drive Solar Project. This is an alternative access road. The applicant is represented by Robert Bukowski of Weston Sampson Engineers. Plan name is proposed Lambert Street Access Road Site Plans dated May 9th, 2023. I am recusing myself from this agenda item, and I'll have Everett.
Motion to open the meeting. Second. All those in favor? Aye.
Here's the butter notifications.
All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Jesse O'Donnell of Weston and Sampson, representing the project applicant tonight, Sincarfa Capital, on behalf of a proposed notice of intent application as well as a stormwater management permit application. And this is concerning a proposed access road to a previously approved solar development. And as stated at the top of the hearing, a public hearing was previously held earlier this summer regarding this present NOI application. We had to re-notify the project abutters to restart the hearing due to the quorum issues. So we're here tonight to present the hearing so that the new members can appropriately render a vote when that time comes. So to start, I'd like to speak to the project in kind of two pieces. I'll probably take about 10 minutes here. At the front, I'd like to talk about the previously approved solar development. And I think that'll help to inform some of the history behind the project, so that in the latter half of my presentation, for 5 minutes, I'll jump into the actual Lambert Street access drive, which is the present agenda item that we're asking for the condition for the approval. So to start, the solar development was originally designed in 2019, and it was 20 acres or so large, just north of Park Drive. And you can see it on this overall plan that I've put to the left of me here. The access was originally proposed off of Brooks Avenue, which fronts Park Drive. And we had proposed wetland disturbance as part of the solar development. The solar development was not constructed for reasons that I'll get into in a minute. But it proposed 4,500 square feet approximately of bordering vegetated wetland disturbance, with a 1-to-1 replication area ratio, which was provided just upland of the wetland that we proposed to disturb. And we received entitlements. We received an order of conditions from the Conservation Commission in 2021, as well as a special permit from the Planning Board in 2021, and a stormwater management permit from the Planning Board as well in 2021. So shortly after the project was approved locally, abutters had presented legal issues concerning the proposed access point of Brooks Avenue, which is highlighted in yellow on the plan. So pursuant to those legal challenges that were raised, we went in search of additional alternative points of access to the site. So first we identified the Eversource easement, which was located just to the east, kind of on the far side of the plan, as a potential mode of access to the site. In coordinating with Eversource to use that easement, we quickly found out that that would be prohibited. So that option was considered dead in the water, and we searched elsewhere for additional alternatives. And that kind of brings us to where we are tonight, to the current application, which is to propose site access via the pink highlighted item on the overall plan right now, which is an extension of Lambert Street, which is currently a paved dead end, and extending that about 300 feet north into the private property to access our solar development from that side. So I think with that in mind, I'll turn this over to a more zoomed in version of the actual Lambert Street development. So on this side of the plan, you can kind of see the extension that we're proposing in more detail. So as I discussed before, we're proposing to extend the dead end paved right-of-way of Lambert Street north about 300 feet into the proposed, or into the private development. And we'll propose a gravel access road to do so. And in doing so, we're proposing an additional 3,400 square feet of bordering vegetated wetland disturbance, and that's in addition to the 4,500 square feet that we proposed on behalf of the overall solar project that I mentioned a few minutes ago, which brings us north of the 5,000 square feet threshold for state permitting, which I'll get into in a few minutes. And we're proposing to replicate that 3,400 square feet of proposed disturbance area on the Lambert Street side of things here, just upland of the wetland itself at a 1.5-to-1 ratio. So we'll have a wetlands replication area just upland of the wetland itself. That's about 5,300 square feet, as shown on the plan. In the actual wetland disturbance area, that 3,400 square feet, we are proposing to mitigate the effects of the disturbance by employing what we're calling a rock sandwich. This is kind of a design feature we've employed in different other sites to success. And it's more or less just a gravel access road that has a cross-section of about a foot deep. The top half has more finely graded out material, like a crushed stone, to accommodate vehicular access over the gravel drive. And the bottom 6 inches or so is a much more coarsely graded, like a riprap material, which will allow for the hydraulic conductivity of the wetlands beneath. So both sides of the wetlands that are on either side of our proposed disturbance can kind of flow freely among either side of that disturbance roadway. So next I'd like to talk a bit about the stormwater design. We have proposed a stormwater design that treats the runoff. We have a few best management practices, features that are designed to treat runoff from the stormwater falling on the gravel access road. And we're proposing to reduce the peak flows to the wetland in the proposed conditions relative to what is currently falling on the site in existing conditions in accordance with state standards. We have received feedback from the project from a number of agencies, and I'd like to just go through a few of those pieces of feedback and how we've implemented that feedback into the current plans. First, from the Planning Board, We do have an open hearing, public hearing process with the planning board that's ongoing right now. And earlier in the process, earlier this summer, we had received some early feedback from the planning board to extend our stabilized construction entrance at the opening of the site on the southern portion of our limit of work. We had originally proposed a standard 50-foot long stabilized construction entrance, and the planning board asked us to extend that. So now currently in the plan as we're seeing it, it's a 100-foot long stabilized construction entrance. In addition, we received some feedback, from the DPW. We met with the DPW and they had asked us just to extend the northerly paved dead end of the Lambert Street right-of-way about 30 feet. And that's just to help the nearby project abutter just to access his gravel driveway by extending the paved section of Lambert Street another 30 feet. It just gives him access to access his driveway on a paved section of the road. So we proposed that as well in the current set of plans. And lastly, we received some feedback from the natural heritage. The site is mapped as a priority habitat area, specifically for the eastern box turtle. So Natural Heritage did review the project as part of our original NOI application earlier this summer, and they issued us a review in which they said that the project would have a no-take on the eastern box turtle, subject to the condition that we have a qualified consultant prepare a turtle protection plan. And that's subject to the commission approval as well. So that's something we're anticipating, and we'll get a qualified professional on board to conduct that turtle protection plan. So as a whole in review, I'd like to just go over a few potential future items for our permitting pathway. So we're striving for an order of conditions with the commission here. And on the horizon, we're looking at some state level permitting with Mass DEP. As I said before, the combined wetland disturbance from the Lambert Street access, which is what the 3,400 square feet I talked about, and then the previously approved overall Park Drive solar development, which proposed 4,500 square feet of wetland disturbance. That puts us north collectively of the 5,000 square foot threshold, which triggers state action, a required permitting pathway with the 401 water quality certification process of Mass DEP. So we'll be engaging in that process. And because there is a state action there, we therefore trigger MEPA review as well. So we've already started initial conversations with the MEPA staff, and we'll be pursuing MEPA permitting as well in the future. So with all that said, I think that covers all of the items that I wanted to touch on tonight. So we could open up the hearing to any questions from the public or from the commission.
Anybody?
No, I'm good. I mean, we walked it, so I kind of know exactly what you're talking as far as where the wetlands exactly is going. The only thing is, I couldn't find any flags when we were out there or anything like that, and I believe there was flags put out there.
Yeah, we have a wetlands report that we did back when this whole project first started, and we have the report with photos, so I guess we could find photo evidence of the flags that were originally placed. Yeah, I'm not sure. I haven't been out on site recently.
Yeah, because we walked in there pretty deep and we weren't able to see anything that was visible.
Okay. Yeah, we can keep a note of that.
I think I'm good.
So we're going to extend the area that the construction trucks are traveling on when they come in and out of the site. That's so they can shake off the soil and stuff from their tires.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. Yeah, just because we're in a residential area, I think the planning board said, why don't we extend that stabilized construction entrance from the typical engineering practice of 50 feet to 100 feet to make sure all that sediment really kind of sheds off the tires and into that stabilized construction entrance so that.
And you said you were going to 1 1/2 the area going to disturb on Lambert?
Yeah, and I can just point to that right now. So the area that we're proposing to disturb is right about here, right in the wetlands, right here. And the area we're proposing to replicate that with is right here off to the top left. And it's 1.5 times the size of the disturbance area.
And you said something about the hydraulics for the entry into the place. You said you're going to use heavier crushed stone, of course, boulder type.
Yeah, in the area of the
Fires,
wetland disturbance.
Fire
Yeah.
crushed rock on top. Isn't that going to penetrate into the bottom layer?
Well, we'll separate the 2 layers with a layer of geotextile.
All right.
Yeah, so our construction detail has some kind of more in-depth detailing as to how that's gonna happen, because to your point exactly, yeah, if there was nothing
I mean, I
separating those
couldn't-
2 layers, there could be some
I'm a
trading.
layman, so I
Yeah, no, that's a good point, yeah, so we'll make sure
said,
that
okay, well, you're gonna put big rocks and you're gonna put little rocks on top, not the little
they
rocks.
trade
but-
spaces, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Okay.
we'll separate those out.
So the distance from the newly proposed paved area over the rock bed area to the muddy area, that really wet, saturated area, you guys have a housekeeping plan for that overflow of what comes off trucks, tractors, equipment into that roadway?
Yeah, we have some language in our plans concerning those items in the plans, but in addition, subject to the construction general permit, we will be preparing in advance of construction a stormwater pollution prevention plan, which kind of goes in depth into, you know, how we're minimizing track out onto the, you know, neighboring properties and onto the right-of-way, I should say, onto Lambert Street itself. So there is going to be detail currently in the plans, and then in the future when we do finalize that stormwater pollution prevention plan to that effect.
Right, because as we know, there is a close neighbor to this proposed project that we really need to keep happy, so we don't receive the complaints of the bad housekeeping, as we hear in town here all the time,
Yeah.
for bad housekeeping.
I think that's an important point, and I think we'll hold the stance that we're willing, you know, to listen to the abutters throughout the process and to, you know, work with them to make this construction, you know, as least of a nuisance as it possibly can be for them. So, and in the form of the notes we have in our plan and that stormwater pollution prevention plan, you know, historically that would kind of cover us in terms of, you know, constructing this site in a manner that, you know, harmonizes with the community, but we want to make sure that we can do that just in advance of the letters on plan. So we do plan to, you know, solicit any sort of commentary from the abutters during the construction process and trying to work with them.
And I think it would be satisfying to those homeowners over there, knowing that there is a company in place that is gonna do that good housekeeping for their peace of mind.
Yeah.
And not having to worry about calling the different departments because there's 8 inches of mud on that roadway and they're trying to get out of their driveway or access their home, is, I guess, my concern.
Right, and that's important. So we'll make sure we take note of that as we, you know, as we get to that point. Yeah, because that's definitely I think it's the biggest concern.
Is this project gonna be gated locked, like when you guys are not working, you lock up behind you? On our walkthrough, there was a lot of dumping going on there. A lot of garbage, a lot of compost. The compost stuff ain't as bad, but there was a lot of trash, plastic, stuff like that. And I'm afraid if you just build this road in, and when you're not working, other people are gonna drive in there and just dump trash, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's something we gotta look at. I mean, I don't know if you've been to the project, but right now, as soon as you walk in, you see what everyone's dumping. And it's not just
Really?
compost.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, there will be a gate to restrict access.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll make sure to make note of that either way.
When do you foresee the replication commencing for this access?
So in terms of the construction sequencing,
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, the replication area to stabilize it and finish it, I don't think that's something that would happen right away at the beginning of the process.
yeah.
But I think there is some flexibility as to when that could occur.
I mean, it should be somewhat of a balance, I'd say, because,
Yeah, I mean, we want to make sure that we can stabilize
quite a
an
bit of
area.
disturbance and, I
Yeah.
hate to see it put too far off, as far as installing the replication.
Yeah, that's a good point. It is important that we install it, you know, within season, and that we're able to
Right.
stabilize it appropriately. So I
Yeah,
think we would,
sure.
within those constraints, we try to
And,
do it as soon as.
I have no
we could.
idea what might be in there, but,
Yeah,
whatever is there might need another place to go.
Takes quite a while for them to come back, though. It takes about 3 years before you actually see them
Yeah.
start to look right
yeah,
again.
that'll take a little while to stabilize and then to grow. But we'll keep in mind on that replication area, because that'll be, you know, that'll be a vital piece too.
It's not just vegetation.
So have you guys received the proposed special conditions from?
These are,
Well,
these
these are
came
from them.
back from
Oh,
them.
these are from them,
These
okay,
are
okay, these did
theirs.
come back from you.
Yeah.
These came back from them. I have just two things that I'd like to see stricken from it. The word staff on bullet point 4 and bullet point 8. Then it should come back to the commission for approval.
Yeah. Good point.
Commission members.
Yeah.
I agree.
It's just
Commission in
just
particular, yeah.
word, it's verbiage, but
Not
I think it
necessary.
would read better that way.
Yep.
If I may ask a clarifying question, Roland, Graham Bukowski from Sincarfa. Would that require another hearing, or would this be an administrative approval?
It's, it would depend on
So 4 and
severity, I would think.
Yeah, we're
Most
not,
of it, most everything Pat has pretty much, you know, a free hand.
regarding number 4, the
Can
turtle.
you stand up, please?
Yeah, sorry about that.
Thank you.
State your name.
Graham Bukowski, Vice
Thank you.
President, Sincarfa.
Thank you.
The turtle protection plan is obviously a condition of Natural Heritage's approval, and they're going to determine the frequency and the breadth of this plan. So we feel that that's sufficient enough, you know, if they're going to approve it, being that they are the more or less authoritative source on this, you know, that it would be somewhat redundant to then come before the commission to have them review it. You all will be kept in the loop. That was Mr. Hannah's request, and we have no intent to not keep you in the loop with any of the state level permitting beyond this point. So that was the request, because you know, sometimes meetings drag on, you might not have a quorum, then, you know, we're trying to progress the permitting forward, and
Well, I understand that part, it's just, I don't think the word staff needs to be there. I think if just commission approval and will include the proposed frequency, third party, I think we all understand that.
okay.
I just think that having staff is redundant.
So it sounds like under that language, there could be still a possibility of an administrative approval process, whether it be that or an actual approval in this format. It could be either one, it leaves it.
Pat does work for the commission doesn't work for Pat.
Understood.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
but I just want to understand the mechanism. It would it be
And
by
if you
way
tell,
of,
if you tell him something, he's gonna get it to us. But I don't think, if it's something major, it should be the whole commission that decides.
Agreed.
Not staff, quote unquote. I just think it's a bad word. I just don't like the word.
Yeah, I mean,
Other than that, I think the rest of it's fine.
the original, it's not there in the original anyway. It wasn't in there.
Yeah, that was
It's just
added.
commission. right.
yeah, our concern is, just as I mentioned, you might not have a quorum, right? And if it involves getting on a meeting agenda and then having a renotice to some degree, which we're hoping is not the case because the hearing will be closed, and our intent is to not deviate from these conditions and really just informative, keep you in the loop. So we can determine what the exact process would be to review with the commission and receive an approval. We would appreciate that.
I think that as far as the turtle habitat itself and the turtles themselves, I think that probably the state has the internal power, the complete power over that. Everything, I just went and looked tonight on the computer a little bit about eastern box turtles, because I know they're out there in the woods, but I don't really know their habits or anything like that. So I looked at their habits and how they live. And I think if there's going to be something wrong, you have an observer that's going there to inspect. The state's going to shut it down if there's something really wrong anyway. But I just don't like the word staff. I just don't think it belongs there.
I think we agree on that as a board, that word staff.
Okay. Understood.
Well, I guess Pat had it as turtle protection plan is subject to commission approval. So that's more along the lines of what Drew was talking
Good evening. Jeff Roloff. I'm outside counsel at Sincarfa. I just wanted to clarify what we were trying to do there. We were trying to make it clear that Pat Hannon, acting as an agent to the commission, could approve the turtle protection plan, which is also going to be reviewed and approved by the state folks, rather than having to come in before the commission as part of a public meeting. So when we said staff, we basically were thinking Pat Hannon. So I don't know if your objection is just to the word that we chose, or you just want to make sure that
I just
the
don't
plan
think the
comes to
word
you.
staff belongs there at all. I think commission is, I mean, Pat is an employee for the commission.
As long as you're comfortable that Pat has the authority to approve the plan on behalf
Well,
of the commission.
that's coming down from not DCR, whatever they call it now, environmental protection.
Yeah.
That's, like I said, the state has, and federal's even higher than that if they have federal status. I don't think they do. I think it's just a state thing.
Well, the state has to approve the turtle protection plan
Right,
under
I
their
know that.
program. So that's clear. No one's trying
Correct.
to change that at all. So no matter what, this plan has to go to the state. They're going to review it. If they don't like it, we're going to change it. Ultimately, we need to get them to approve the plan. The only question for your decision is, do we also have to come in front of the commission, the full commission at a meeting, and ask you to also approve it? Or are you comfortable having Pat review it and approve it on behalf of the commission? That's all we were suggesting. We can say it in a different way. But that was the reason we said staff. That was a reference to basically us being able to work with Pat.
Personally, I'd like to at least have someone explain it to us before we say, okay, yeah, let's go for it.
I think that's fine then. Let's just leave it the way Pat wrote it. It'll be an administrative approval. It wouldn't require a public hearing or anything like that, but that's fine. I think that's
Not
fine.
necessarily a public hearing, but
At a public
an
meeting.
informational meeting,
Yeah, fine. I think that's fine.
not a public hearing, so to speak.
Yeah, yeah.
Informational
Gotcha.
meeting. That's what I'd like to see.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
No, I'm good with it.
Okay, so now this is part,
I'm sorry, I just want to make sure that the public is provided the opportunity to speak again since we're restarting the public hearing.
oh, sure.
Thank you.
I'm new at this.
No problem at all. I just want to make sure we do it right.
Is there anyone here in the audience who would like to speak to this project? Seeing no one up there. I'm looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion. And we're gonna strike out the word staff member and add members in, and these will be added in as conditions to the Board of Commissions if you so next vote.
Okay. Okay, I made a motion.
Second it.
Okay, all those in favor of this motion?
Aye.
Okay.
Are all set?
Ryan, you saying?
Continue working on the access part.
Good
Thank
job.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate your time tonight.
You're welcome, you guys.
All right. Up next on the agenda is stormwater. This is a new public hearing due to the invalidation of the past public hearings. Oh, yeah, you guys gotta,
All those in favor of closing that meeting?
sorry. This is a new public hearing due to the invalidation of the past public hearings due to the loss of quorum of voting members. It's a public hearing, Jose Costello Park Drive and Deep Brook Drive, map 17, lots 66 80 through 84, map 18, lots 12R, 12S, 18, 18G. A stormwater permit application has been filed by Jose Costello for property located at Park Drive, Deep Brook Drive, map 18, lots 66 through 84, map 18, lots 12R, 12S, 18, 18G, Acushnet, Mass. The applicant proposes to construct approximately 2,350 feet of roadway with associated drainage and utility systems to serve a 15-lot residential subdivision. The applicant is represented by Jamie Bissonette of Zenith Consulting Engineers, LLC. Plan name is Deep Brook Estates, dated October 24th, 2017. Previously approved notice of intent SC 001-0523. The applicant seeks a stormwater permit in variance from the Town of Acushnet stormwater bylaw for this project. Motion to open the public hearing.
Motion.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Floor is yours.
For the record, Randy Gagnon with Zenith Consulting Engineers on behalf of the client, Jose Costello. As stated in the introduction, this is a reopening of the hearing due to the lack of voting members for the previous hearing. So I'll just give a brief history of the project, like I did last time, for the benefit of the new members as well as for the benefit of the new hearing. So Deep Brook Estates is located off of Park Drive. It actually includes an extension of Park Drive. But the project itself has gone through many different versions of the project over the last few decades. And actually, part of the property was cleared and roads were sort of put in with gravel, and some of the culverts that were associated with road crossings over wetlands and such were installed back in the 90s. The culverts that exist do have their water quality certificates, and those are still valid with DEP. The current version of the project is a 15-lot residential subdivision that includes an extension of Park Drive by about 1,500 square feet, as well as the construction of Deep Brook Drive that runs north to south off of Park Drive. Park Drive is 850 square feet. Deep Brook would be 1,500 off of Park Drive. This version of the project was submitted back in 2017. It was reviewed by Planning Board. Reviewed for the Planning Board under definitive subdivision by Field Engineering, and it was endorsed by the Planning Board in December of 17. During that review, the applicant at the time, Michael and John Koska, also went for their approval through conservation and received their order of conditions for the project just prior to the final approval by Planning Board in November of 17. Subsequent to that, they received an extension in 2020 of that order of conditions. Just to reiterate, this plan was reviewed by Planning Board and their review engineer and approved by their peer review engineer, Field Engineering. And it's our understanding that the Planning Board was actually a stormwater review board at the time as well, even though they didn't actually file for that permit. Planning Board was also the acting stormwater board at that time. And another thing to note is the original project was not designed by Zenith Engineer. GAF Engineering designed the project. They had a couple of iterations with Field Engineering, and in their design they actually did account for the stormwater regulations. They just weren't reviewed under that application purview, if you will. So they did account for those for the regulations in the stormwater regulation in the stormwater bylaw. But again, it was some sort of procedural rule that just didn't, for some reason, didn't happen. So again, the project is a 15-lot residential subdivision with an extension for Park Drive and installation of Deep Brook Drive. I'm going to get away from the original design plan. I'm just going to go to our plan that we created as a supplement, because it shows the entire project and I can sort of go through it all rather than flip through a bunch of sheets. So north is to the left on this plan. Existing Park Drive is located in the bottom right corner here. So we're proposing to extend Park Drive by 850 square feet. I'm sorry, 850 feet. and then construct Deep Brook Drive, which is roughly 1,500 feet. Drainage for the project will be handled by 3 stormwater basins. Originally, these basins were designed to be what they call wet detention basins. And what a wet detention basin is, it's designed to have a permanent pool feature. And this permanent pool is essentially where you get your water quality treatment in your stormwater design. For several reasons, that part of the initial design was taken out due to concerns over mosquito habitats and that sort of thing. But essentially what happened when that was taken out, and it must have been an oversight, it actually rendered the project not compliant with Mass DEP standards because it removed the water quality component of the design. So again, this project was approved in 2017. We got an extension on the water conditions in 2020. And again, the applicant under those permits was John and Michael Costa. What year did your dad take us? 22? So in 2022, our client, Jose Costello, obtains the property and the project. And when he went to go try to get his building permits and such, it came to his attention that the stormwater permit was never applied for. So at the same time, the original design engineer, GAF Engineering, was no longer involved with the project. So he came to us to try to apply for the stormwater permit using GAF's design and plans to try to obtain that permit. In that original submittal in November of 22, again, we submitted unaltered plans and drainage report and everything associated with the project. We submitted their content essentially on behalf of the client. So we applied for the permit. The permit, I'm sorry, the plans were then re-reviewed by Beals and Thomas on behalf of the commission. They did their first review in February of 23. We went through 3 iterations, I believe, and we made some. We essentially tried to bring the project back into compliance with Mass DEP standards, while also trying to meet all the town regulations as well. But at the same time, we were trying to not redesign the entire project. We were trying to keep it essentially the same as what was approved by planning board and conservation previously. So essentially, we're at the point now where all of the concerns by the review engineer, Beals and Thomas, have been addressed, with the exception of the 10-year storm volume, which is your standard 11 in the town stormwater regulations. So, and that's what we're asking for the variance on today. So that standard 11 set aside, we believe, and Beals and Thomas did agree, that the project now, as it stands with our minor modifications, does comply with Mass DEP and the town's standards, other than this one standard 11. And just for the benefit of everybody else, standard 11 is it's a regulation that restricts the increase of stormwater volume in the post-development condition. I'm sure most people here know that when you create a project, we design these stormwater systems so that they don't increase off-site flooding. When it comes to stormwater volume, there are no state or federal regulations that prohibit the increase of stormwater volume. Usually, the concerns about rate of runoff from the site. So with our changes, we were able to meet those the rate of runoff changes. But again, this volume, the storm volume it's usually it's usually not a requirement. And even Mass DEP, while they do have what they call a recharge, you have to meet recharge. Recharge is the same thing as infiltrating runoff, so that you can reduce that volume. The site here is not subject to that simply because, well, it's subject to the maximum extent practicable, meaning you meet it as best you can because of the soil conditions on the site. The soil is, the site is comprised of entirely C and D soils, which is essentially not conducive for infiltration and also volume control. So so we're asking for the variance. Before I go any further, I just want to talk a little bit about some of the changes we proposed with Beals and Thomas to sort of, again, bring this project back into compliance with DEP, and again, as best we can with the town, with the exception of the volume requirement. So we redesigned all of the roof drain systems so that they would be better suited to capture all runoff from the roofs up to and including the 10-year storm. We also produced a full grading plan so that we could more accurately show the areas running to each basin, and that was able that allowed us to sort of make minor changes to these basins while, again, trying to bring everything back into compliance. So some of the other changes we made were stormwater basin 1 is now going to be an infiltration basin. And again, it doesn't necessarily meet all of the requirements for the town, but when it comes to the state, we're essentially trying to do the best we can. All the soils on this site are, again, they're C and D soils, and they have high groundwater tables. And again, without redesigning the entire project, there's just no way to make it work. It's also important to note that part of the project has been constructed. So some of the drainage actually, I think most of the drainage structures in Park Drive, as well as the basin. The basin's not completely done, but it's mostly finished. And the 2 areas of basin 1 and 2 are already cleared. So again, redesigning this would essentially result in about double the space for each of these basins. And it's just impractical, and again, it would sort of unravel the design for all the other permits that they've already obtained for the project. So I think that's about it. There is one other variance that we're asking for, and that's for the required cover over drainage pipes.
I was just going to ask you
I forgot to
about
mention
that.
that
I
last-
was
I forgot to
just going to
mention that
ask
last
you.
time. So I believe the town's requirement is 3 feet, and some of these have between 2 and 3. So we're not quite meeting that on a couple of, but the materials that are specified on the plans can more than adequately handle just that 2 feet of cover. And actually, most towns only require the 2 feet.
Are you under 2 feet anyways?
I don't believe so, no. I think we have a
You should
minimum.
know that.
We have a minimum of 24 inches on all of these. So again, we're asking for the variance for the 10-year storm, the 10 years runoff volume requirement, and the cover over the drainage pipe requirement.
And the chain link fence, correct?
Thank you.
And we came into that.
Right, so the plans, as they were designed, were approved to have just a chain link fence around the tops of the basin berms. And the town, I think, requires Rosa Rugosa and some other things. Yeah. So,
And then the other thing that was last time we were talking, you said there's a catch basin that's gonna catch some of the sediment and that gets cleaned out. And I was asking, I actually asked you last time, how often do you get it cleaned out? And you didn't know.
I actually have it.
Aha! I like it already.
Actually, I forgot to mention, so when I mentioned the water quality treatment, and when they redesigned their basins, they took that treatment capacity out. Another thing that we changed was we added what they call water quality units, and essentially what they do, they're a manhole that will mechanically separate anything that's separated, everything that's suspended in the water. It sort of creates a vortex inside the manhole, pulls all of the solids to the center so that clean water can then exit. And just by adding those, it actually brought this project back into compliance with what they call standard 4 of the DEP regs.
So how often do they get to be cleaned out?
You caught me off guard again. I do have the info, I just have to look at it.
Now, that's going to be something that the association take care of cleaning out? It's not a town issue?
So, it's not a town issue. This project is going to be operated and maintained, the stormwater system is going to be operated and maintained by the homeowners association that's going to be developed once the road and stormwater system is complete and they turn it over to the homeowners.
And then every house has to come before us again?
I don't understand.
When the houses are going in?
Oh, right, yeah, so each house that's gonna be constructed within the buffer zone is gonna come in for their own NOI.
Yep.
Yeah. Which I believe is, there might be 2 or 3 that are not in the buffer zone. So all the others would.
Yep.
But I do believe that as part of this, because the roof drain systems are part of the stormwater permit, they also have to come in and just be reviewed.
And those roof drain systems could potentially get you back into compliance, could reduce the runoff volume.
They will reduce the runoff volume for sure. I don't know if they'll bring us, they bring us closer to compliance.
Right.
And that's why we added them to the plan. They're much more robust than what was originally proposed. I mean, I think we roughly sized them, so they're almost the size of the septic systems, which, I mean, there was, most of the perk tests here were, again, slow soils because they're not great.
Where the houses are going, the soils were a little better though, correct?
They were a little better, and again, I mean, the way that this grading scheme is shown here, this layout works. It works. Is this what it's going to look like exactly in the final condition? Probably not, depending on the house styles and that sort of thing. But if we stick to, you know, the size of the house so that we can capture that roof, and each system is going to be designed for each individual house to make sure that, again, that 10-year storm from the roof is going in the ground, full stop.
Anybody else? Question? Anybody from the public? This project?
Randy, do you have the green, the high?
I do.
All right. So with that, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion made by Heidi,
Second?
seconded by James. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, that's unanimous. All right, so in speaking with Pat, he was looking, if we are gonna vote to issue a variance, he was looking for findings. So, which we did last time, technically it didn't count, but I came up with some findings. So, number one, Mass DEP recognizes that it may be difficult to infiltrate the required recharge volume on certain sites because of soil conditions. From sites comprised solely of C&D soils and bedrock at the land surface, proponents are required to infiltrate the required recharge volume only to the maximum extent practicable. This is from the Massachusetts DEP Stormwater Handbook. Also, the applicant has noted that each individual home will be a separate filing. The design of the roof drain systems will potentially reduce the runoff volume. And also, I feel that moving forward with this project, it is in the best interest of the town. So with that, I will entertain a motion to issue the variance for the 10-year storm event.
A motion.
Motion made by James,
Second.
second by Everett. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Those opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, so James, Heidi, Everett, and myself in favor, Christian and Doug against.
Aye.
Motion passes. All right, so there's two other variances they're looking for. I didn't really come up with any findings for them because it's pretty common practice in the town. You know, the chain link fence over the split rail, it's not a big deal. We're not gonna really see it. It's kind of hidden away in the back corner. So with that, I will entertain a motion to issue the variance for the chain link fence instead of the split rail fence. Is there a motion?
A motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, that's unanimous. And the other variance is the 2 feet of cover over the drainage pipes instead of the 3. It's listening to what Beals and Thomas said. They said that it's not that big of a deal and it was up to us. I don't really see a problem in it with it. I don't know if anybody else does, but with that, I'll entertain a motion to issue the variance for the 2 feet of cover over the drainage instead of the 3 feet.
I'll motion that.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Oh, that's unanimous. And I guess the final,
Wait, did you vote in favor of that?
No.
No. you-
oh, I'm
voted
sorry.
against.
There was one
Yeah.
in opposition.
Two.
Doug,
I voted for it.
You did, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, sorry.
Sorry. And then ultimately, you guys are looking for a stormwater permit, so I'll entertain a motion to issue the stormwater permit to Deep Brook.
I'll motion that.
I'll second.
Okay? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed?
Opposed?
All right, there's James, Heidi, Everett, Brian in favor. Christian and Doug opposed. All right, and that passes.
I have information for you.
All right.
So it's essentially based on the inspection. So those units get inspected 4 times per year. And depending on the depth of the sediment it holds, they'll then clean it.
Probably needs cleaning after that storm the other day.
Well, they're not on the ground
They're
yet.
not up yet.
But you're right, yeah.
In tomorrow's storm.
And the
Tomorrow won't be
association
nearly
will
what we
handle
just
the
had.
4 times a year.
Correct.
Do they
That's all
give
in the-
any information back to the town on that?
That's all in the operation and maintenance plan.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
And then after storm events, that they report it and, yeah.
So the
And
operation
that's-
maintenance plan for the stormwater
That's available
system
for us to.
Right.
has the schedule for every aspect of this design.
All right.
And then it also has a log form that, so you can like, okay, we checked catch basin 1, 2, all of that.
Awesome.
And then it'll say like, you know, if there was maintenance needed, they check that box, that sort of thing.
Okay.
All right, I think you guys are all set?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, we already closed it. I closed it first.
Motion to close the public meeting.
Yeah, no, we already closed, I closed it first, yeah.
I'll second it. Good night.
Yeah, we're supposed to close before we go. That's fine. All right. Next on the agenda, this is a new public hearing due to the invalidation of the past due to the loss of quorum of voting members. This is a public hearing for Stormwater Deterra Development LLC, Bradford Street, map 15, lot 482. A stormwater permit application has been filed by Deterra Development for property located at Bradford Street, map 15, lot 482. The project description is for four single-family dwellings on a private way, Bradford Street, with a drainage basin. Stormwater drainage basin accounts for 3 previous built single-family dwellings in Bradford Street roadway improvements. The applicant is represented by Randy Gagnon. It says Jamie, but it's not. Randy's here. Of Zenith Consulting Engineers LLC. Plan name is Stormwater Permit Plan dated March 8th, 2023. Is there a motion to open the public hearing?
Motion to open.
Motion made.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Rainey, the floor is yours.
For the record, Randy Gagnon, Zenith Consulting Engineers, on behalf of Jeff Deterra, the applicant. And again, I'm just going to give a project overview for the sake of the new hearing. This project was originally going to be a 3-lot subdivision with roadway improvements as well as drainage. Subsequent to that, now that this was all constructed, and then subsequent to that, there was a rezoning of the property just to the, where's the number?
East.
Just to the east. At which time, the applicant would now like to build 4 new houses, which require additional drainage improvements for the existing road. At this point, I believe that this is the latest plan, this latest design is in the hands of GAF Engineering, which is the peer reviewer for this project, and I don't think we've gotten any latest comments on those plans. So I know there was some back and forth with that as well. So as far as I know, that we haven't got any response from that. So.
And you guys had your infiltration test?
I do believe they did.
Recharge?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, they did do that. Yes.
So Jeff Deterra, Deterra Development, yes, we did the infiltration test.
Could you give me a stand at the podium?
Yeah.
Please, thank you.
So the infiltration test was done. It was observed by Pat Hannon and Joe Correa. And that was the only comment left that had to be, looked into. And we did it, within a timely manner and when they asked, and we have no further comments since then, so I'm pretty sure everything's good to go.
Did you clean out any of the silk out of that before the test?
It's sold out of what?
Out of that basin?
So I think there's complete miscommunication on the basin. So that is not a basin. The hole that was dug there, that's not a basin construction. It's literally just, as I explained when we were there, we can't technically take dirt off site, even though most of the dirt, anything under the first 4 inches is deemed clean. So when we built out the other side, we're allowed to utilize dirt on site. So all we did is we knew the basin was going in and we knew we had to remove a bunch of dirt from it. So we just moved it to the other property. So it's literally just an excavator dug a hole into a truck and we moved the dirt. It's not a basin. Just so everyone's clear. I think that's what I was thinking was getting miscommunicated, but the basin is like, when it's constructed, I believe is like 90 feet by 100 and something feet.
That's what I was looking on the plan.
Well, it is the same location, right? Basically.
Yeah, well, because we knew the material was coming from.
Understand the concern
Yes,
where
yes. I mean, but it's only
the same location.
It's only a 30 by 30 pond, and that thing's 100.
That's a big hill.
I was at the hill, okay. Oh, so we're not showing the.
So essentially you know, I mean, I know this is 160 feet from here to here. So, I mean, this hole that we dug is just a little spot right here.
That was it?
And, you know, this is all the pond. I mean, that's just, it's just literally, so the piles of dirt that you see there, we actually had to relocate the dirt that was deemed clean to the side where the basin is. That's why you see a windrow of dirt, because we couldn't put it on the other side on top of the contaminated material, because then we would have contaminated that material.
That's right.
So we were just playing a game, moving dirt around on the areas we could, and we couldn't essentially touch the other side. So that's why we were just moving dirt wherever we could, you know what I mean? I mean,
I know what you're saying, because you
it's
didn't want to contaminate
complicated.
everything.
Yes, because I
Yep.
mean, at $90 a ton to remove it and stuff, I mean, it gets very expensive, so.
Yep.
You know, we can't, I just wanted to explain it.
Yep, no, I'm
You
glad
guys
you
are
did.
new and
Yeah, I'm glad
so-
you did.
So, yeah, so that was a little miscommunication there, so. Yes, when we build the new retention pond, that will be all cleaned out, and it will be, I believe the dirt's coming out, and we're actually putting a good layer of like pretty much septic sand along the whole bottom of that whole entire retention pond. So there'll be a lot more dirt being moved once we clean to the left of it, and
Yeah.
it will go that way, and then it will get filled with a coarse Title V septic sand. Okay.
I can confirm that. So, there's a lot of different ways to construct an infiltration basin, but when we do it, we make sure that any deleterious materials that are in there get taken out until you get down to a good layer, and then you fill it back up again with the septic sand. So it's gonna be clean, it's gonna be able to receive whatever water you put in there.
Yeah, because our biggest problem is we have no way to discharge water to wetlands because we have no wetlands around us.
Correct. So there'll be 7 houses going into that basin,
There's already 3 that exist,
and the 4 new ones.
and the 4 new ones, but they all also, same thing that he just went over with them, they all have
Roof.
recharge systems.
Yep.
Yes.
Anybody from the public care to speak to this?
Yeah. My name's Alex Shenelholm. I live at 16 Belanger Street. Again, no issue with development. I'm glad to see he's putting in nice houses and everything. The issue I have is the 2 houses that are behind me. The lots are 4 to 6 inches higher than mine, and it all drains into my backyard. This last storm we got, I had 2 inches of water in my garage. I never had that in 6 years I've lived in my house. So last 2 days I've been drying my garage out because all the lots around me are now higher. And that was something I brought up to you when you had a foundation in. There was no house, no nothing, it was just a foundation.
So, am I allowed to ask questions to him?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So, now when we talked about it, which I don't disagree, you said you came onto the property and you dug a little trench
Yeah, just to get the water.
to get water out of you, right? And then you mentioned about maybe possibly putting some dirt over to fill the void that you had. And I mentioned to you that I mean, dirt really couldn't leave the site. I mean, we could put dirt in from somewhere else.
I get that,
couldn't
yeah.
use the dirt from the site. But I mean, so like my question to you is, because there's another neighbor over there that's causing some issues too, but what do you do to control your stormwater?
I haven't had a stormwater issue since previous to those houses being put in.
Yeah, so now, do you have a sub pump that pumps into your backyard from your basement?
I have it, yes.
Okay, and where does it pump? Into the backyard?
It pumps under my deck.
And
it
then your
runs down the
downspouts,
driveway.
and your downspouts on your house, where do they go?
They go into the yard, and it doesn't
Okay.
leave the yard.
Now, I'm not trying to be, I'm just saying, so all the years that
But
you've
how-
lived,
how
all
does-
the years you've lived at the property, right, and before you, where was all the water being discharged?
It was flowing through the lot that is now developed.
So it was flowing onto my property that I don't own anymore, but it was
Correct.
flowing onto my property.
But from my understanding, you're not supposed to change the natural flow of water.
And now that you've built those lots up higher, because to your credit, you couldn't get rid of the dirt, this is contaminated, it's expensive, I get that.
But a
Now
sub,
I've
but
got a
a,
pond in my
but a
backyard.
sub pump and the roof runoff from your house is in a natural flow of water. You're supposed to control it yourself. I'm just.
Yes.
Do you control it?
No, and like I said, I've lived in that house for 4 years, up until you started developing the lot, and I had no issues.
Well, my thing is, at the end of the day, you put the water onto my property, which is illegal, essentially, because you're supposed to control your own water.
Okay.
And now, I'm just saying this, I saw the photos, I've been notified after the fact, before meetings, and your property isn't very well graded, there's
No, not at
depressions
all.
in your property, which are definitely gonna hold water, I mean, so essentially, running your sub pump into some type of drain, doing downspout drains and regrading the property so your property handles water adequately. And then if there was still a problem, I'd be more than happy to talk about it, but I mean, I don't own that piece of land anymore, so I know you went to the neighbor and said, don't put a pool in because I'm gonna talk to them, but I can't go on that property anymore, so, I mean, there's really not much I can do about it, and you're discharging your water onto my property. At the end of the
So-
day, and.
So now I'm supposed to.
But
incur
now,
costs of trying to
let
control
me
this.
put this out there. Marinelli is also dumping his water onto Jeff's property from his pool and from his sub pumps and all his
He's
drains.
since changed that, and now it's dumping onto his property.
Yeah, but what grade does the land go? It flows to your house, right?
Correct.
So then his water now is going to your property as well, which isn't my water. So you can't put the blame it's not even my water, I don't own the property anymore, so.
Yeah, and I'm not even talking about that side of the property.
Well,
It's
that
literally
water is
one corner of
adding
my-
to your problem. Correct?
So now that these houses are put in, the property is not yours, I understand that, this is my issue that I have to deal with.
I mean, until you control your stormwater yourself, I think so. I mean, I don't know,
Well,
you can ask the board.
This was the information that the commission had received, and essentially, yeah, you have to direct your stormwater elsewhere. You didn't have an issue before because it was getting discharged elsewhere, but now it's just going directly into your backyard, so that's not.
Yeah, because the lots behind me got built up higher than my lot, so now it's contained in my lot.
I mean, 4 to 6 inches, I could see if, I even went there when the grass was growing and took photos, there's not even ruts, like water's running onto your property. I think the majority of the water is from your
I
own
mean, I have
property.
pictures from the other days, since my neighbor is taking down his fence,
Mhm.
you can see it's a step from where his yard is to my yard.
But he has downspout recharge systems, there's no water from
And
the
I get
roofs
that.
and, you know what I mean?
But if his lot's currently higher than mine, it's gonna run downhill. You can't change gravity.
But now if the roles were reversed, and I graded 4 inches lower than your property, all your water was gonna go onto this guy's new property, and that's his
And
problem?
that's not what I was asking when I talked to you about that.
But I couldn't take dirt, and it's really, like I said, what am I
Okay.
supposed to do? Spend $15,000 on your property to make you happy?
I don't think we should be like
I'm
going
just
to this far.
not sure what to do.
That's why we shouldn't
Yep.
allow that. It
Yep.
should be.
Yeah.
I do say,
No,
I do agree with Jeff that you do have to take care of your own stormwater.
Okay?
If you have water running off the street, if you had a trench running off of his property onto your property, then you have the right to go to Jeff and say, hey, look, here's a proof that the water's gushing into my property like a river. Then he's not watching his stormwater. But we do have to maintain our own, and that's roofs, sub pumps, everything. I'm going through it at my house, so I kind of know what you're doing. But I also have other issues. But we have to maintain our own. Whatever our roof does, whatever our sub pump does, that is our responsibility as the homeowner.
Okay.
So I don't think that there is, from what Jeff is saying, we don't have rivers running into his yard, correct?
Yeah, no, not rivers, I mean, I think the majority of the water is from his property.
Now, have you been on his property?
And when I mean,
Okay.
that's why, I'm trying to keep it
Let
cordial, because I
me
like
ask you
the
a
guy,
question,
you know
Jeff.
what I mean?
If he changed grades, no. If he changed grade and did a little work in his property, could he substantially help himself by doing
Yes.
that?
But I mean, I think the big problem is when you come from Bradford, like Pembroke, and you come down, essentially the grade elevation changes, I think upwards of maybe 15. So you know, like you're 90 over here,
Yeah, it's pretty
and
substantial.
you're 100, so it's 10 feet. So if Marinelli, the other neighbor's not really controlling his water, and then, you know, his water's not so much controlled, it's just gonna end up going to the next
Domino
neighbor
effect.
down the line.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if I just fix his, then I have to go to him, and it's just gonna.
I'm not saying nothing about.
Oh, whatever, I'm just saying, if I tried to fix his originally the best I could, and then it would've just like, it would've been
A trickle effect.
yeah, you know, and it's not cheap, and I get it, and,
I mean, when Jeff and I originally talked, again, saw him working, just went over, had, again, pleasant conversation, wasn't, I just asked if there was a way to put some type of drainage pipe or whatever, shooting it downhill towards where this current drainage pond is proposed to go. That's all I asked.
but so then what comes down to play with that is easements, like,
Yeah.
we would've had to go into easements to properties
Right.
that I don't
Where
know.
would that,
You know what I mean?
where would
So
that actually, where would it actually go?
You know.
The drainage line, where would it have to?
Then that would
actually go?
create like
Between the two
a
properties?
problem on, yeah, that's the thing.
Right,
mean,
I know, I
it's really-
understand,
And I'm not trying to be a
I don't think
jerk,
that
I
would
just,
be,
you gotta try
No,
to
I'm-
control your water somehow, a little
Yeah.
bit, you know?
And
As well as your neighbors controlling their
Well,
runoff
I
water
also
like
can't-
it's been stated.
I can't raise the elevation of my backyard to meet the new elevation.
what is that amount? What is the amount of that?
Well, you could
Just
fill the
curious,
depressions,
out of
you know what I
curiosity.
mean? The depressions is
Yeah.
your biggest enemy, you know what I mean? That's just.
What
But that,
is-
that low spot in the yard is between 4 and 6 inches below everyone else's yard, because that's what it fills up with water. If I raise that spot of the backyard to take care of the water there, it's now gonna be higher than my garage. And I can't lift my garage.
I don't think it's gonna be higher than your garage. I just
It
based
is
off of
pretty-
what I said.
it's
Well,
pretty
like I said,
close.
I
I
can
mean,
go
it's-
over there and shoot a transit, and I can try to help you.
The
to
downhill
do
side
something,
where
but-
the rental Charlie's property is, that's all level all the way down.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, if Jeff were offering that, you should take him up on it. And say, Jeff,
Yeah,
would you
like, I'll
come
go
over
shoot
a
the
level,
transit and we'll shoot
shoot a
some
couple
grades
grades
and-
and find your
It
backyard
could
and
be
see
as
what it
little
is.
as just filling the
You might,
depressions and.
you might have a spot where you can get rid of some of it, send a little bit somewhere, but first thing you know is what all your pitches are. And if
Yeah.
Jeff's willing to go over there, I would take advantage of that and say, thank you very much, and have him come over. And so then you'll know it's not just a depression, you're this far below that, you're that far above that, and you gotta work on your own stormwater first before you start knocking on someone else's door. And if he's willing to go over there and give you grades and everything, I'd take full advantage of that.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I will, I mean, we have a good, that's why
Yeah.
I'm trying to, like,
And again, I'm not gonna leave here with any hard feelings towards
Yeah,
you
no.
or towards the development.
I appreciate that, Jeff, too. That's
Yeah.
good standings.
yeah, that's all.
Alright.
So what, I'll,
Appreciate
if
it.
this gets
There you go.
approved, I'll be over there in the next couple months, so I will be able to
Yeah, I mean,
go see you.
you know, with our past, I don't have any
Yeah,
issues
no.
with the development
I
or
agree.
any of that stuff.
And again, it's about having a conversation with your other neighbors that are there and
Yeah.
them controlling their stormwater, which in turn is, you're the end result here.
Yeah.
You're the one that's standing here because they're not having the problem, because they're sending their water to you.
Yeah. And I've,
That's my bottom
Yeah,
line.
because Jeff's fighting with the other neighbor that obviously we all know is whatever, but
yeah.
he's still
Trying to keep my head
trying to
down.
deal with that. So that's like, you know, that guy has a 10-foot encroachment with his fence that he won't move, and there's a lot going on there. And it's gonna be tough, you know, and we're still working on it.
All right,
back to
But I will make it a point, when I'm over there, don't feel free to come see me.
business at
I
hand.
will go check it out.
Alright.
all right, guys.
All
So,
right.
so we're still waiting on the peer review comments.
Yeah,
And, yeah, so I haven't heard anything on that, so I'll entertain a motion to
So Pat, can I
continue.
ask-
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Any one question?
So,
I have one question about here, about the retention pond. Up in the top right-hand corner, there's like a concentric circle. Is that the hill, or what used to be a hill?
That is a mound, yes.
yeah, it's
Is that coming out?
it's a stockpile of it's loam, just like the other.
All right.
So essentially
I know,
when that
I know
was a-
there was a big pile
Yeah.
of stuff there, I didn't know
So
what.
essentially, when that was a junkyard, they took a bulldozer beforehand,
Okay,
so
they
it
just-
wasn't all mud, and they took off the loam
scraped it out.
to be able to drive on it. So that's what they did. That's what I'm dealing with in the back, is all the old
'Cause I know
topsoil.
there was a big pile back there when I was at the site.
So that will all be getting run through a screener.
That's gonna
and
be a
moved
huge-
and reused on site, yeah.
Huge retention
Yeah, yeah, for a little project, yeah, trust
So
me.
the top of that mound is at roughly elevation 101. The bottom of this pond is 87.5, so that is definitely.
I know it was pretty big hill. A pretty big
So
pile, really.
GAF, Pat told me everything was all set for this meeting, there was,
I didn't get anything from Pat.
We didn't get anything.
because I wouldn't have rushed to do all the notices and stuff if we weren't getting the.
No, so the notices had to be done in order to get you on the agenda, so we had a quorum
That's for
to
the
be able to
quorum,
vote
because
on your project, because we lost our quorum.
you didn't have.
No, I get that, but this was supposed to be the final meeting with the stormwater permit, and we only had one more thing
It was-
to do to comply with GAF, which was the head test that was done a month ago now, so that's more than a sufficient amount of time to do a peer review on what was done. I mean, that's crazy that,
We haven't received any comments from peer
see,
review.
Pat told me when I have a text from him, this was gonna be my final meeting. That's why I pushed to get on this one, so I can get started.
And you guys didn't receive anything from GAF?
I think
That was the only note we had to
So-
do, and that's what they said to do.
When
and
did you have this text from Pat, just out of curiosity?
This was 2 weeks
Recent?
ago when
Oh,
I
2
asked
weeks, yeah.
about, because I was upset about the quorum.
Yeah. That's not it, that's not his, it's
I
not in his control.
understand, I get that.
Yeah, that's, you
But
can't.
I was told
Yeah,
this
I
was
know
my
it
last
sucks, and
meeting,
I
you
feel
know?
for you, believe me, it's not right, but going forward, hopefully,
Unfortunately, he had a family
the commission
emergency tonight.
maintains,
Yeah,
and it doesn't come
I
back
don't
to
have
that
any updates.
situation again.
Yeah, so,
I don't even.
I mean, I put,
received anything.
so if we get the abutter notices out tomorrow, we can make it on the agenda for the August 9th meeting. And then we talked on the phone, I said, then I'll be all set at that meeting, and he said, yes. And I mean, I think the test was, do you have a date on the test? Check.
That was just before the last meeting,
I mean, that's
wasn't
the
it?
Yeah.
only thing they wanted us to do, to comply
Complete
with.
the, for the peer review?
That's all we had to do
Yeah.
to resolve, and I mean.
Normally, we get a final report back from peer review so that we can base our
Render
decision
the
on.
final, yeah, render,
I-
yeah, I get it.
You know, we,
Is there any way you could issue an approval with the condition that it comes back clean with,
yeah, I mean, I don't really have a problem with that.
Pending.
pending
Right.
a clean letter?
I mean,
If that letter isn't clean,
I don't know.
Yeah, because I don't want to
Just
have
trying
to
to
go
help.
through this
say we
whole
do it
spiel
pending.
again.
Yeah, you think,
I
The-
think,
right?
Ryan?
This is supposed to be the last
But
time.
Contingent.
so here's the thing, though, I feel like if we do that and we close this public hearing and there is an issue, then you'll have to go through the whole thing
We
again.
have to do that, yeah,
So,
Do you want to take that gamble?
yeah.
I mean, I would just, you know, till we get confirmation, continue. I know it sucks, it's 2 weeks, but,
Or do you roll the dice and take the gamble?
and I haven't, honestly, I haven't heard anything.
Well, because the
about it.
ramp status report for DEP is due on the 22nd, now I gotta pay for that whole thing, then I get my fines from DEP, and then now it's gonna cost me a lot more money. This is like, I even called Andy and I said, if it doesn't work out this time, I'm just gonna stop building because I'm done.
Well,
I'm done, I'm
Well,
just gonna
that's-
sue,
that's-
because this is out of
that's-
control.
Yeah, well, that's.
I'm sorry, this is crazy.
I understand.
They had a month to do a peer review, I paid
You-
$2,500.
You can roll the
bucks
dice,
now.
that's it, I agree with you, believe
You
me.
know, I think it's crazy.
But,
I mean,
I mean, this has been going on now here, and this was such a simple project.
again,
I-
the
I-
quorum was
4 or 5
something
months.
that was, you know,
Was Bill on vacation or something? Bill mad?
I didn't get any emails, I didn't get any,
No, and forgive me, because I am just over my head in that place, so if something came in and I didn't see it, but I
Goodbye.
mean, Pat gets the originals. So-
I mean, in my discussions of late with Pat, he
He
hasn't
would've
said
mentioned it,
anything.
right.
Yeah, no, he hasn't said anything. He would clearly let me,
Oh, well, I'm.
he would let me
give
know
him a
that,
call,
you know.
so.
No one's trying to,
Yeah, I know that. I know it's not
intentionally
your fault. I
put this
just-
off. And,
Right.
you know,
This is costing
this is
me
just a
thousands
matter
of
of
dollars, you know,
circumstances
this is-
that's cost you this much time already, believe me.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I volunteered to join the commission to try to get
And I can
things
look at my emails.
back on track, to help, you know.
Ryan, like I said, I think we should offer them a contingency and see, and let them roll the dice.
Yeah,
I mean, if it works, it works. If I gotta come back, I gotta come back anyway.
Yeah, well, the thing, yeah, like you said, if you gotta come back with the public hearing
Doesn't
again
let me
and
go
all
on the
that
phone.
too.
See, this is my town email, doesn't let me go any further.
He said it would be,
Well, that was the only thing we had left to satisfy them, and that we did exactly what they asked.
Infiltration.
I mean, I would try to get the date, I mean, I think it was,
I didn't have any discussion of late.
I mean, I would remember something coming in, because I talked to the girl at GAF all the time, and Pat would forward it to me.
Well,
I mean, I just think it's crazy. The first peer review, we only took 2 weeks or something to get back around, and this was just a little,
on vacation or something, I'm
just a
not
little
sure.
thing. No, he was on vacation the
Everything's
first time.
sideways now.
Bill Madden?
Everything's sideways. It is.
Yeah, Bill
Yeah, he was on vacation the first.
It's
All right,
crazy.
'cause I remember-
Everything.
So that was all that this was contingent on, was that?
All that was
That
left
was
to
the final
satisfy
item
Right.
from GAF.
was the
In terms of the peer review,
Was
right?
there was a disagreement on the infiltration rate for the basin.
So you guys understand, the infiltration rate over there based off of soils and septic was 30 minutes an inch. So Zenith essentially doubled it to 1 hour an inch. So that gave you double the coverage versus basing it off 30 minutes an inch. GAF came back and said the soils were 4 hours an inch. You know, just based off of what they could see online and whatever. So that's the reason the head test came up. You know, we went and did the head test, and essentially we were right, and we stayed in the numbers that the design we had in front of us worked. And that's really all they asked for.
Do you guys
Because if
have-
you went 4 hours an inch, we would have essentially lost a lot in this retention
Yeah, you
pond.
would have needed, yeah,
For
sure.
for
You would've needed
15,000
double.
square foot
Yeah,
lots,
yeah, sure.
Right.
you would have needed
Yeah,
something that's
double,
bigger than
yeah,
a
double
Walmart
the,
with a parking lot. And I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah.
this is absolutely crazy, you know? Because we don't essentially have a wetland to discharge the water into, which I think is worse than anything, but whatever, to each their own. But yeah, I was almost going to lose a lot, and if I lose a lot, I can't even afford the project
Yeah.
anymore. So
Right.
that's it, I'm done.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
All right, so if you, I mean, you guys want, you know, approval contingent on GAF signing off on it, then maybe we can,
Yeah, and if not, then we gotta come back here anyway, so.
all right.
Doesn't matter.
So with that, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll motion that we approve pending the peer review from GAF, you know,
In
coming
issue-
back, right,
in
coming
issue
back in a
stormwater
positive,
permit.
yeah, right, coming back positive.
All right, there's a motion on the floor.
I'll second it.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, so pending, you know,
Yeah,
get in touch
pending
with
the,
Pat.
outcome.
Close the public meeting first, though, and then vote.
Well, and with that, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Yeah, I'll make that
Well,
motion.
close it,
I'll
that's
second it.
done.
Yeah, okay.
All
I'm
right.
sorry, who made that?
Christian
I
made the motion,
made
Heidi
the motion,
seconded.
and,
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right. All right, public hearing's closed. All right, so yeah, get.
roll the dice.
Yeah,
I mean,
Fine.
just trying,
If
man.
that's,
I had no idea where that's headed.
I haven't
couldn't-
seen anything
I
on
can't
it,
tell
so I mean, if
All I
that's
know
what you
is
were told.
Pat did tell us that the drainage was very
Right.
good and
I mean,
things
that,
went well there.
that I knew,
so,
yeah, I did know that, but
Yeah.
beyond that.
Like I said, I've never had, even that way you're seeing where it's silted up, when we first dug that dirt out, it took I mean, don't forget, you have Keating behind us that's a hole the size of whatever, you know, and there's not much groundwater sitting there, you know,
Yeah, but nothing leaks into Keaton's.
yeah.
It's impermeable.
Have you guys covered that pile and put plastic under
Yes,
it?
we did, yeah. Well, not under it, but we put it over it. And you'd have to move the whole pile, but it's on top of contaminated soil. It's not like, so let me explain. I talked to my LSP about it. So if you were doing a gas station and there was contaminated soil and you had to move it from one hole and then stockpile it so you could remove it, you would put it on top of an area of asphalt or concrete, and it would then essentially could run off into the roads and into the ground or into a dirt area. But because I stockpiled it in a section that's already contaminated, I mean, it doesn't really apply because it can't ruin anything. And for me to stockpile it on an area that's already clean would cost more money, because then I'd have to remove everything underneath it.
Yep.
So we did cover the piles.
Okay.
Which was good.
you know, but we didn't get plastic under
Yeah.
it, because I'd have to move the whole pile.
Right,
You know,
understood,
to an area that's already clean,
Right.
you know, and then I'd lose that area.
yeah.
So, initially, when we were cleaning it, we were literally cleaning it, and
Right.
then we were gonna put it in dump trucks and get rid of it,
Yeah.
and then this whole thing
Right.
started happening. I was like, okay, put on
Right.
the brakes, because I don't have the, I have to
It's
have the
just that the
funding.
lights and sirens went off when we did a site visit,
Yeah.
and there was nothing covering the pile.
Yeah. Well, it was supposed to leave, and yes, I agree. From different standpoints, I mean, when it's on the ground like this, and
Right.
it rains on it, and it goes wherever it wants, it didn't have to be covered.
Right,
And it's already contaminated, the topsoil.
right.
So when you put it in a pile in a contaminated area inside the contaminated area, it still really doesn't matter if you cover it or not, because it can only run off into
You
contaminated
can only
area.
control what you can control.
Yeah, so I get it, we covered it,
Okay,
and, you know, that's really the best we can do, and I told the LSP if the meeting went good tonight, within the next week or two, I want it gone. You know what I mean? That's where I'm at, you know?
good enough.
Oh, hopefully.
And I've
they'll
been
get back in.
notifying Pat when I'm doing that type of stuff there, just so if complaints come in,
Right.
everybody's on the
Everyone's
same
aware.
page.
Right,
That's a good idea.
that's a good
Yeah.
idea, yep.
All right,
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
all right, thank you.
Thanks for your
Have a good
time.
evening.
All right, discussion. So, I was just handed this tonight. It is plans from the Acushnet Company Test Facility Visitor Center. I guess they have some changes proposed, and it may require or may not require an amended order of conditions. However, due to the loss of quorum, I think that we should
Back in the same,
have
yeah,
a,
same situation.
or at least find out, move in the right direction to find out if our quorum issue is gonna affect that project. And
Well,
it will definitely need a site visit, at least for these guys.
The,
Amended order of
Right.
conditions, yeah. So, you know, you can talk to Pat about that. and,
Sure. Okay, so the next meeting would be the 23rd, the site
Yeah.
visit will be on the 19th, so I'll put it on for that, and I'll find out if it needs an order, in advance,
All right.
because he'd have to have the answer for tomorrow if I can get it on.
All right, and then, anybody else got anything for the commission? No. I would just like to bring up that, I don't know how it was done previously with Bob or whatever, but I would like to see, so I got an email from Pam saying that the agenda was posted, and that was at 3:30 on Monday, and I think she just CC'd me in it. It went to you and me, and it said that, you know, the agenda was posted, blah, 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 blah. I was just wondering if I could get my eyes on the agenda maybe 3 days prior to a meeting. So if there's anything that I want to add to it, or, you know, or whatever.
Pre-look.
Yeah, just, you know, because some things that we may have discussed or may have seen, I may want to bring it up, or somebody from the commission.
Well, feel free to email me anytime with that.
Right,
Um,
but I mean,
I'd like to have the agenda posted by
Well,
Friday.
Yeah, wouldn't that be great?
yeah, but it just seems
Yeah.
like, it seems like the agenda's been
That-
being posted
that
on
would
Monday at
be-
like 3:30, almost like 4 o'clock, and by then,
No, I sent it earlier,
or whatever
and
they,
the
I don't,
individuals in the clerk's office open it when they open it,
Yeah.
right,
and then it gets posted.
all right,
So-
understood.
I make enough mistakes, I don't wanna take anybody else's,
Well, I'm not- you know,
or the, you know, when they can get around to it,
Short
they
of
get
being
around to
complete.
it.
All right,
on,
well,
Friday.
let
We can do
me
it,
put
yeah.
it like this, I, before it gets posted or sent to the town clerk, I would like to,
Oh, all right.
I would like to see it first, in case there's something that I would like to add to the
Yeah.
agenda, or if somebody from the commission approaches me and says, hey, can we talk about this at the next meeting? Then I would be able to, you know, see the agenda and then
Yeah.
Okay.
at least
Okay.
add something to it.
You want a draft agenda sent by Thursday when I leave at noon,
Oh, yes,
and then.
Look at her.
yeah. that's-
12:01,
I
you will
work
have
in-
it.
Is that, you think that's something,
Honestly,
should we have a
honestly,
vote from the commission?
It depends, because you know what I mean?
well, it don't have to be you know, I could get it on Friday, that's fine, but I just don't, I want to at least
Yeah.
see it,
Have it
I want to at least see it
weekend.
before,
Plenty, right?
before 48 hours before the meeting, because normally that's
Yeah.
pretty
That's
much.
what I'm saying, but if I send it to you out on a Thursday, if I leave there, say at 11, send it to you, you have Friday to look at it and get back to me.
Yeah,
If I send it to you on Friday later, then I'm not gonna have a chance to see it myself, because I'm in the Board of Health in the
Okay.
afternoon. So, I
Yeah,
mean,
what
but I
happens
can't always say that I
Monday?
have an agenda
Yeah.
done by
Right.
then. Like this agenda, the next one, it's big. There's like, I got 4 things already on it. So
Okay.
I'm already starting to try to get all that together, get your site visits together. Then I go back to this and work with Pat and say, hey, what else do you got? You know, is this all done? What, you know, so and for me to work with him in a short amount of time, sometimes it, you know, it might not be done until Friday.
understood.
And then,
But
you
you
know what I'm
can.
saying? Yeah, no, sure, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I'll send it out as a draft. But, you know, as far as me, when I hit send to the clerk's office, they're short-staffed down there.
Yeah, understood.
So, and one girl was on vacation, I believe, so by the time I send it, there's no red alert that goes out that says, hey, there's a, you know, thing waiting to be posted, so they might not get, I had to call one time, and that's great, we all work together.
Yeah.
But, you know, as far as when they do it, I don't have control of that. you
Okay.
know.
Yeah, if I could get,
But it would be nice to get it there, maybe,
Yeah.
earlier.
that would be good. I don't know if that needs a vote from the commission or,
I think it's understood.
Okay.
I
I
think,
think
you know,
it's a vote.
I know what
Okay.
I do.
Ryan, I think this gentleman has a question.
I just want to say one thing, because I found it outside. It's August 9th, obviously, and the head test was 7/11. So pretty much a month.
Oh, yeah.
okay.
Yes.
Just to show you
Yeah,
that, you know,
no,
almost
that's
30
it.
days.
No, I understand your
Yeah.
frustrations.
I just wanted to, so everyone's on the same page. It was 7/11 was the head test.
Okay,
Thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you.
All right.
thanks. Good luck. All right, no agent updates for today.
No.
Future business. The next meeting for the Conservation Commission will be on August 23rd, 2023. With that,
Entertain a motion to adjourn.
is there a second?
Ryan, can we just do new mail?
Second.
Oh, you have?
New mail? Yeah, we never
That's correct.
hit on new mail. And I do have something.
Oh, all
I'd
right.
like to-
Vote before there was a second. Yeah, we can go back to meeting mail. I didn't know.
Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
been a busy night. Again, I'm only asking or suggesting if there's any possibility for openness on inspections instead of doing them on Saturdays at 8 AM. I'm suggesting or hoping for a weeknight, hopefully at 5 o'clock, if it suits everybody.
It's dark in the wintertime.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
say do a summer schedule. I
su-
used to do that before with Monica. Monica used to do,
You know,
Monday, were you there?
or
No.
4 o'clock.
Before.
Most of us are either retired or out of work early, as myself
busy
or
schedule.
Ryan. I'm done work every day at 2:30, so I'm available. Ryan, I
It
understand.
depends, yeah, it depends where I have no problem with it. You know, it can't, for me, it can't be a Tuesday night, because that will
Yeah,
interfere with my wife's plans.
right. And Tuesday night, I have Lions Club, so,
All right, So-
you know, maybe if we
so
could
so
do.
why don't we add that to the agenda? We can come up with a game plan, and we can add that to our
Are
next.
you guys
Yeah,
open to this?
I was
I just think
everyone's,
tying up a half a day, technically on a Saturday, most of us only have weekends off, that's
Right.
really, that's tough.
Yeah,
So what day were you thinking? Maybe a
A
Thursday?
Thursday,
When is that? Every day I have is just it's a day. I don't
Right.
know, put a Monday or a
Same
Sunday.
We'll send you a reminder.
right?
But keep in mind that you're gonna have engineers
No?
come too, so
You're
you
not-
have
oh, well,
to, you have to keep that in mind too, because
Right.
now you're asking somebody to come,
Oh, yeah.
that is true.
you know. I know Monica used to do them on Monday nights.
They used to do them on Sunday afternoons
She
at
used
one
to do them
time.
on Sunday
Ted
mornings
used
too.
to be out on Sunday
Used to-
afternoons
Used
with
to
the
be
crew.
summertime was Monday nights, and then winter was Sunday mornings. But, you know, Sunday mornings, some
Yeah.
people don't, not into that either.
I mean, we can think
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
just leave it open for, you know,
I'm
because
pretty open. I work till 4:30.
yeah, and Thursday night would work for me, that's my night out, so I mean, I'd be sacrificing my night out, but I don't mind
We'll
doing
go
that.
on after.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
He's like,
Yeah, the biggest thing would be, you know, these.
The biggest thing would be,
The
yeah.
engineers,
Yeah.
because you want them present there.
Right.
And you want the area
And-
staked out and somebody present to, I mean, some of them, maybe you could make a determination that they're gonna
I
get.
mean,
So we put that on the
pretty much know
agenda?
all of them.
Yeah, I have no problem.
And the only other thing I would ask as new members are site visits to the following locations. Number 1, PJ Keating. number 2 Deep Brook Drive, and then 1050 Main Street.
Okay.
Requesting that as new members to be able to visit those sites.
Well, we did Deep Brook,
You
right?
did these, didn't you?
Yeah.
Did Deep Brook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We did Deep Brook. PJ Keating doesn't have a soil permit, so, I mean, there's not much going on there.
And you have to get permission to go into there with the
Right.
hard hats and all that
Right.
safety equipment and all that stuff,
That's
so
all good.
that would be a setup time for that.
And 1050 Main, I think,
1050 is off Cushing Lane, right?
yeah.
That's because the
Oh, yeah.
the landowner's got a no trespass now.
Oh, he does have,
Yeah.
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 got an
The guy
advice.
that owns, that
Yeah.
actually
Oh,
owns
the
the end
abutter.
of the road.
Yeah.
The property
Yeah.
owner
Yeah.
has no
So-
trespass.
Right.
That's why we can't get there.
Right,
Right.
Yeah.
so you might wanna talk to Pat about that.
Okay.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
with that, the only way is through legalese to get access.
Right.
And I don't want to get into
Need
the
a,
whole PJ Keating thing or any, lengthy conversation. Been on board following this whole, I'm gonna call it, project, cleanup, whatever they want to call it over there.
Mm.
I want to see with my own eyes what's going on in the back with the runoff.
Right.
With those
It has been a
retaining
while.
areas of water. The silt fences, are the silt fences
was-
even up?
What was the deadline, July 24 on
Been
that?
in a while.
They had that 3-year,
They had 3 years.
wasn't
yeah.
it?
The notice
I
of
think
intent's
it
good for 3 years.
was, I think it's, right, July of 24
Yeah,
is
but
the,
then COVID came along and that changed all that stuff.
Yeah, it was-
I don't think it.
I think it was post.
Yeah, I believe so, yeah, I don't know that it changed, I think,
Well, you can talk to Pat about
yeah,
that. I
Okay.
mean, like I said, none of that soil's getting moved anyways, and whether they're, I mean, part of their notice of intent is they need to keep up with that, the silt fence and
Yeah.
all that stuff, erosion control.
Right,
and-
yeah.
the runoff, yeah.
And the last time we went there, they were doing that, I believe.
Have you been in there for a
Yeah.
visit?
Did anybody drive by
Yeah.
there just this past rainstorm that we just had endured?
Hmm.
Did you guys see that runoff
Yeah.
of crap that was
Yeah.
running into the road?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how they're gonna meet the bylaw regulations with that occurring, I'll tell you.
That was everywhere.
Right.
Mendel Road was bad. There was dirt and stone everywhere. I mean,
Bellevue Ave, cars were floating
Oh,
down the
yeah.
road.
Route 18 was
Route 18
flooded
was
everywhere.
flooded,
Yeah, yeah.
Anyways.
I mean, maybe the new members, should do a site visit to PJ Keating, if you haven't been there, how can you, sometimes you're gonna
Correct.
end up having to go there at some
Correct.
point.
So,
So, you might, where that's a hard hat, safety glasses, boots and all that
Got it
stuff.
all.
I
you
used to
might
wear
wanna-
stuff like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
you might,
Yeah.
so you still have it.
yeah,
And the commission members have it.
Yeah.
So you might wanna set something up for the future,
yeah.
Maybe
And
it might be something.
yeah. Last but not least, Joanne, where do we stand with the IDs that we were speaking about for us?
Pat was kind of looking at that and talking to Nick, but I can check with Nick, because I gotta check on something with Nick, or Ryan with the Apple iPhone, so you wanna check for photo IDs.
whatever.
I don't know, Pat handled all that for me, thankfully. Did he say you needed to submit your own photos, or was
No.
Nick gonna take pictures?
Nothing was said about
Nothing?
photos yet.
Okay, let me see if I can find some information
Okay.
about it. 'cause
You
I know
have mine
last time-
someplace in your computer already,
Yeah, yeah, it's yours, and Ryan's.
in front of a white background.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And-
yeah, that's what they required, was some white.
I got a photo with a number right here. I don't know.
Yeah, I'll find
That's,
it.
that's all I have, you guys. Thank you.
I know Pat's been talking to Nick, so.
All right, so again, the next meeting of the Conservation Commission will be on August 23rd, 2023. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
And is there a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, meeting.